Hello, welcome to my other show. My name is Susan Rushton and this is Muse. This is the show on which I am privileged to, and which I am delighted to, I am thrilled to, I'm honored to talk to people who are visited by the Muse, artists, in other words, of every stripe. And today, the stripe of artist I have is Frank Ordaz, who has been in Auburn for a while. You didn't grow up here, right?
Nope.
Nope. Welcome, Frank Ordaz.
Well, thank you.
Frank is an artist who paints. He has a studio at 843 Lincoln Way in Auburn, right in the middle of town. If you want to learn more about him, and you'll learn quite a bit about him, you can please log on to ordazart.com. Or he'd be thrilled. He'd be thrilled to hear from you via Ursus, URSUS, GWiz, WIZ, at gmail.com. Or if you want to join John Downs and have him have Frank paint your portrait, you can also phone him at 530-906-0716.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, I always like the plug.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
Thank
also,
you.
I get to find out about you. How long have you been in Auburn?
I think I'm going on 14 years now. 12.
Really?
It's either 12 or 14 years. My wife is really good with dates.
Okay.
I even forget how long we've been married, but she reminds
me.
me.
Oh, I'm sure she does.
Close to 30 years of
yeah.
marriage.
Okay. Why are you here?
Why am I here? Well, do you really want to know?
Yes, please. Well, I wouldn't ask otherwise.
I moved out of very liberal, intolerant Marin County to somewhat tolerant Santa Rosa, and I just essentially wanted to come to a more Christian-friendly, conservative-friendly, Mayberry-like town that sponsored arts, that was friendly to the arts, that had culture, and also where I could raise my kids in an environment that I thought was healthy. And I literally sought out Auburn.
You sought it out.
I sought it out, and so I essentially I could live anywhere.
Yes, you could.
Because of the type of at that time I was working as an illustrator, and so as long as I'm close to a FedEx and a post office and and a phone receptacle, I can set up shop. So we visited Auburn and we liked it. We liked the churches here, and we bought a house and we've loved it ever since. I love Auburn. I love the people of Auburn. It's not as crazy as the Bay Area.
Well, sometimes.
I lived there for 15 years and I know what I talk about. But I think it's a rich environment for me artistically, because I'm not necessarily working in a vacuum. I'm working around other artists who I feel are very accomplished. I love the foothills. I love the access to Tahoe. I love the access to interesting people that I've met here. I'm part of. In fact, you can see some of my work here. I really like dealing with and painting people that are considered marginal. I painted Gilbert. The odd, friendly bicycle honker. In fact, I don't know if you could see on the screen, but this gentleman here came into my gallery, and he essentially was incarcerated the majority. Oh no, this is not this guy. I had another guy who was like him, who was incarcerated most of his life, and I painted him. And this person was a cyclist in Old Town that I asked him to model for me, and visually threatening, huge guy, But once you start talking to him, and see, art is like, for me, a vehicle to connect with people. And as soon as I started talking to him, we had a lot in common. In fact, the guy just teared up and said, "This is like the best thing that's happened to me all year. I've had a really hard year." So we could we can look at people's exteriors and judge them, and either that or be threatened by them or whatever. But through the vehicle art, it could really tear down some of those barriers. At least for me, because I'm talking to them while I paint them. And of course, this image here is one of our sugar plum fairies.
Yes.
And she's a sweetheart. I've met her.
Do you remember what's her sugar plum fairy name?
Oh, she has. Oh, I keep.
Okay.
It starts with an R.
Okay, it's tough to remember them.
Yeah,
but I think that's a gorgeous photo.
Thank you.
It's not even. No, it's a painting. You're right. You're right.
It's called Stella because at that time I liked I was reading the works of Frank Stella, and he uses very bright colors. And she just reminded me from, that Streetcar Named Desire, where,
Stella!
So I just called it Stella. I didn't want to call it by, because to me she's like, there's a fancy word, archetype of just this very interesting woman, and, she's having fun, it's whimsical, and yet I have had so many people who've come into the gallery and goes, thank you for putting this painting out in the window. It's very positive, it's bright, it's cheerful.
Yes. It attracts attention to you.
Right, yeah. But it also, it celebrates, going back to your original question, what I like about Auburn. We have some interesting people doing interesting things. We've got race car drivers, right? We've just recently we had a movie director from Hollywood came here, and I asked him, why did you choose Auburn? He goes, first of all, it's close to the airport, close to Tahoe. I can get on an airplane, go back to Hollywood. We have horses. We can ride our horses. It has a symphony. It has the
symphony. Silver Screen Classic Movie Series. The first Saturday of the month at the Auburn Journal, Auburn Library.
It has a revival theater.
Yes.
And it's got some good coffee shops and
great restaurants.
Some good restaurants.
It's a good place. Plus, you're here.
Well,
now, I need to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Because.
Thank you.
Because I think you mentioned Marin County, right? Okay. Something I did not explain when I introduced you is that one needs to investigate you on internetmoviedatabase.com, imdb.com. This person who could live anywhere, who could live anywhere and has chosen Auburn, has a page on Internet Movie Database. You have been an artist for the major league organization, art/movie organization in Marin County, Industrial Light and Magic.
That just celebrated its 40th anniversary of Star Wars production.
And that's where you went a little bit ago.
Right.
Right? Okay. Right. To help celebrate.
Right.
Frank Ordaz has been part of the art background, right, and possibly foreground for several movies, including Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, The Never-Ending Story, E.T., The Extraterrestrial, and Enemy Mine, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, Howard the Duck.
Oh, don't say that.
Okay, I beg your pardon.
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. The Goonies and Starman, starring my heartthrob, Jeff Bridges. Oh, my God.
Was he in that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes!
He's a great actor.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Yes. So, how did you get involved with Industrial Light and Magic, sir?
Well, I was fortunate. They called me. They literally, one day I got a ring on the phone, and I had found out I was recommended by my college, Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, as one of their top students, and so they asked me if I would like to work for them, and I said,
oh, well, gee. Let me think about it a minute.
Because at that time, I think I was 21 or 22, I was going broke, and so they called at the right time. I did an image for them, and they hired me, and moved up to Marin County, San Rafael, and I've never been back to Southern California. And I just loved it, and I love the Bay Area, and they just gave me the opportunity to work with so many incredible artisans those who worked on creatures, who worked with creating models, designing the models, conceptualists, those who were in editing, those who, we're talking old school here. So we're talking people who work with film, actually cutting film, working with film. This is all pre-digital. This is all pre, you know, the mass production of the digital imagery, and so you can actually drop a model and break it. We worked on glass, and painted on it. That's not done anymore. So I was at the right place at the right time because I love painting and I love producing artwork by hand. So when it's steered towards digital, you know, I jump ship because that's not what I wanted. And I still do what I love today, which is to paint. And I never saw myself in the effects business because it would just be doing backgrounds. I've always loved working with people and painting people. So it was a great part of my 20s. I was essentially in special effects during my 20s, which is a great time.
And you got paid for it.
I got paid for it.
Experience with what works and what doesn't, and what people like and what people don't.
Exactly,
and
Susan. Yep, exactly. Yeah. It was a wonderful time, and I can't believe it. You know, it was over 30 years ago. But but people remind me of it.
Yes. So. And you remind people of it too, because you have Star Wars
stuff in the gallery, but I didn't always, because in my mind it was so long ago, and I had some locals like John Downs, who would always John Downs, our local time traveler. And he would say, where's your Star Wars stuff? And I said, well, that was so long ago. He goes, no, you got to have your Star Wars stuff up.
You can't say that was so long ago to John.
Right, that's right. It was
from 1887.
Yeah, it was just yesterday. So I'd say within the past couple of years, I started putting up the Star Wars stuff, and then it's just making it a little, you know, attraction there in the gallery. And you know, I have an Emmy for one of the movies that we worked on, which was the Ewok movie. I think Ewok Adventure. And so I started putting some of that stuff up, and so it's what do they call a conversation piece?
Sure.
So when somebody comes in, I can talk about that. And
but it was so long ago. Look what I'm doing now.
Yes, yeah. But it is, you know, it is something that it's global. And now that Disney has bought the franchise, from what I understand, they're going to be coming out with a Star Wars feature every year. So it's kind of like Star Trek. There's always a new Star Trek all the time. So there's just going to be a more Star Wars, so I've just decided to embrace it. Okay. So just recently I've been going to these Star Wars functions where they asked me to appear, and of course we had that 40th reunion, and it was good to see a lot of the people that worked on the original movie.
Yeah.
And of course we all have our gripes, because that's what happens when things change.
Yes.
The freedom is lost. The cross pollination. What I mean by that, I worked on the Death Star, and at that time, if I could work in the model department, or I went up and worked with the conceptual artists, or if they needed somebody to help.
It was a hands-on thing.
It really was.
But digital is not. It's different. It's computerized.
Yeah. But it's kind of like our world now. Everything is specialized. Okay, you're going to work on the clouds. You're going to work on the trees. You're going to work on the people that are walking under the clouds. You're going to work on the buildings. You're going to color the buildings. So everything has its specialties. And whereas we painted the entire thing, so if you're used to all that freedom, and that specialization is going to be a downer.
Right.
It's going to be a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, so I was there at the right time.
Yes. Yes. That's exciting. Yeah. And you get to talk about it, and you get to remember it, and you get people. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
cool.
Lucasfilm just came out with the making of Jedi. And so it's all these things are now documented, and it's great. And it's great to open the book and show, you know, my children and my boys, and it's just, you know, it's part of the cultural phenomenon, cultural fabric that is part of cinema now. You know? I mean, these movies never won Academy Awards for the great acting or for anything that was, you know, emotionally, you know. Intense or fulfilling,
but they were amazing.
They were epic adventures.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like like the Wizard of Oz was never a big deal when it first came out. They got panned, but It's lasted the test of time. So will Star Wars.
We always will always love a story.
Right. Right.
And a well illustrated story.
Exactly right. With great characters. You've got the evil Darth Vader. You've got the Luke Skywalker. You've got the princess. You've got the rebel Han Solo. You've got the goofy, overgrown dog Wookiee. Yeah. You've got the C-3PO with the English accent. You got the little R2D. Sure. You got it all. And you got the little all the creatures in the cantina scene, monsters. Yeah. Oh, you got it all.
Yeah.
Full package. Space adventure.
Yes. Okay. So, up to now, you are some art people are may want to make a real living, but they may feel. I've talked to some artists, not here, who once they find something that attracts people, that people really like, they abandon it and go on to something else that
well, that's crazy.
Isn't as why?
Well, it's crazy. Well, it's like a good example is like, let's say you make a nice pizza and people like your pizza. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to stop making pizza and now I'm going to do goulash. It's stupid. And somewhere in the arts, that kind of thinking has creeped in. And I understand it. It's like you're selling out now.
But
if you're pandering to your audience, then see, each of us is driven by our conscience, right? Mm-hmm. So if you feel you're pandering, then I'd say, okay, possibly. But if you're doing what you like and you enjoy and what you love,
and people are going to pay you for it.
Well, yeah. And we live in a society where there's an exchange of goods. They'll pay money for good food, for a good experience, and a concert, and for artwork. This is kind of how our economy is built. And so if there's artwork that inspires people, if people connect to something, they want it. Now, the problem in the arts is finding the purchase point.
Yes.
Where the right price will separate them from their money. That's what my art teachers say. At what price will you separate, the buyer from their money? Sure. And I've always told that to my students. So is the price point. I'll have people wanting to buy my art. It's just finding that price point where they'll go, I find value in what you have here, and I will pay this amount of money for that value. Yeah. Now, what gets crazy in the arts is that, of course, you could puff up that value.
Yeah. I find it really exciting that you have been a working artist in Auburn for 14 years. Am I right, 14 years?
Yeah, okay. My gallery's been up for about 5 or 6.
Okay.
I've lost track.
But the gallery is right in downtown Auburn.
Yeah.
And
when was the crash?
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
Holy cow, I've been there for almost 8 years now. Okay. Yeah, because I came in at the crash because there were all these empty remember, there's all these empty buildings in Auburn. So if you own a building, you don't want an empty building.
No, you don't.
So I just kind of went in there and I said, this is what I'd like to pay, and I got somebody give me a good price.
Good.
On a storefront.
But you have a home, you have a wife, you have children, you
right,
and you
got to raise my family here on my art.
Working artist. That's great.
Yeah, I have been since I was 21.
Yeah.
I've worn different hats because I was in the film industry in my 20s.
Yeah.
In my 30s and 40s, I essentially was an illustrator. And now, and in my 50s, now I just turned 60, but in my 50s I did the gallery scene. So I've just kind of morphed sideways. As opposed to change directions, I've just kind of changed with what I felt I needed to have done to support my family, but also to feel fulfilled as an artist.
Yes. And now, why are you an artist?
Why I'm an artist? Because it's really the only thing I'm really good at.
Because I can do it.
I can do it. Not that I got bad grades at school, but frankly, I've also had a passion for it. I've known people who were really good artists growing up, but they just didn't have the passion or drive, or the determination to endure. Because half of it is just not giving up. Half of it is dealing with failure and disappointment. Okay, and of course, there's this learning skill of learning your craft, which is really difficult. You know, with painting, you're dealing with perspective and color, the proportions, values. You're dealing with, and of course, ideas and concepts. There's all these things that go into the production of a painting. So just learning the craft of painting, understanding the medium is difficult enough. But then when you start going, and as an illustrator, I learned how to deal with people, learn how to budget, you know,
promote yourself, and
promote myself. There's a bid for a job, so you learn how to bid. You learn how to deal with contracts. I work with contracts. So as I moved into fine art, I already had that experience for me, working with people, knowing who's going to pay, who's not going to pay. You really learn how to read people and read clients. So that's just years and years of experience working as an artist, working especially when I do portrait commissions, knowing what the client wants and desires, as well as when I do things like this for myself. There's a certain mood that I'm trying to express, or a certain feeling.
Did you plan on putting this in your window?
Yeah, because it's bright.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I very much believe in being part of the community. And the sugar plum fairies are part of. In fact, the high priestess came in yesterday.
Yeah.
How do I know that? Because she told me.
Fran Haynes. Yes.
And so she was saying, you know, a lot of us would buy that if the price was right. I go, well, I might make prints. So it validates what they're about. Mm-hmm. I get to celebrate having them in a part of my life, and it's all, and that's, you know, part of art culture that I have ingested is from Jacques Barzin. He was professor emeritus from Columbia University, and he wrote about art. And his definition of art I enjoy, because he goes, art should enhance life. And he said, when somebody cooks food, you don't cook food to poison yourself. You cook food so that your life will be better. When you drink wine, you drink it because you're now enjoying.
You don't drink dumb wine. You drink
want
reasonable wine.
You want the best wine. So that's a great definition, because if art exposes something that is killing life, then that's a good thing. See, it doesn't have to be just about beauty. It can also be about injustice, because what's injustice doing? Injustice is dampening life, right? So that's a wonderful definition, because if it's enhancing life. You know, here in Auburn, we're also famous for people jumping off that bridge, you know? And so that's when somebody despairs and loses hope for life. So there's a spiritual point of contact with my art, that life is worth living, life is a gift, life is important to affirm, it's important to celebrate, because we're at the
certainly celebrating life here. And when you told the story about painting that guy, he was dangerous.
He was to me at first. But he's huge.
and you say he started to cry. And because it was.
Here's this big burly guy kind of tearing up. And I think what it is, when an artist takes the time to paint somebody, now you're investing time, which is different than photograph. Photographs, click on something else. But when you paint somebody, you're now investing time to say that you're important, okay? You have value, and now I'm going to paint and draw your likeness. Now that psychologically is powerful to another human being. It has power there.
Yes, it does. I agree
because so
with
many
you.
people just walk and pass each other on the street, and there's so many human beings lose the value effect. Right? In other words, if you were in a desert and there was no human being around, if you saw one, I guarantee you wouldn't just walk past them. It's like, oh, where are you coming from? But because we're surrounded by so many people, and that's where the city, just the urban landscape, everybody passes because it's usual. It's too much. So
we don't see them anymore.
When the artist takes the time to paint somebody,
you look.
And it's a celebration.
And you have taken the time.
Right.
And so you visualize, you see that person.
And I think God has also given me a gift to paint people. I've had a lot of artists say, aren't you afraid to paint portraits? And I go, no, I love painting portraits. They just come naturally to me. They really do.
Why would a person be afraid to paint?
And I'll tell you, because people are experts on people. You look at other human beings all the time. So when you look at a portrait, you'll go, okay, there's something wrong with the eyes, there's something wrong with the nose. There's, you know, the ears are off. I mean, subliminally, you are an expert. We're all experts on people. So when you look at if somebody's done a portrait of you, you'll already judge it. You might say, oh, yeah, that's nice, but part of you will say, yeah, they didn't quite catch me. My eyes are a little cross-eyed.
I have been critical of most painted portraits because, but any portrait you have done that I have seen, I've said, yes, that is that person.
Well, thank you. Well,
you're welcome.
Who I used, she came up to me and she goes, that's me. And, you know, the painting costs too much. Can I have a print? I really want the print. So I made a print for her.
Oh, good.
And, of course, that's validation, right?
Absolutely.
Because if somebody does a painting, I've had a couple of portraits painted of me. It's kind of like, my wife goes, we are not putting that up on the house. It doesn't look like you.
Right.
It's not you.
But the portrait you've done of yourself, that's on your website. That is you.
Yeah, but my wife doesn't like yours because you look serious. Go, well, that's because I'm kind of,
I'm serious.
I'm really concentrated. She goes, but that's not you.
Yeah.
And that's what people, when something clicks, they'll say it's you.
Yes. When something clicks, yes. Frank, thank you very much for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
I need to.
I can talk.
That's one reason I asked you to join me, because I've had guests who couldn't talk, but it's the half hour is torture. But this half hour has been wonderful.
Thank you.
I want to clarify that. Remind you to, if you're interested in learning more about Frank, ordazart.com. Ursus, gwiz, W-I-Z, @gmail.com, 530-906-0716. That's Frank Ordaz. He's on Lincoln Way, 843 Lincoln Way.
And I'm usually there. People complain you're never there, but I am there when I'm there.
Okay.
But I do a lot of traveling. I go out on location to paint, so.
Okay. Well, thanks, Frank.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being my guest, and thanks for watching.